Hi, my name is McKenzie Loyd. I am a social work student at Vincennes University. For this speech assignment, I will be discussing my research essay, and that essay was over reality therapy. Throughout this video, I will be hoping to explain a little bit more what reality therapy is, the main components that it contains, and a little bit history about it. So to begin, reality therapy is a form of therapy that promotes the idea that behaviors are choices that one makes for themselves. So, in my opinion, this means that regardless of what happens in our lives and what possible negative impacts there are, or whatever happens to us, we get to choose how we react and how we handle these issues. So, for instance, a lot of my examples will be based on substance abuse and alcohol abuse, any sort of mental health, substance abuse type situations. So, for instance, let's say something really traumatic happens in your life, such as a death, and a client comes into you explaining that their aunt that they were very, very close with has passed away, and since then they've been abusing drugs to cope. Well, this therapy tries to explain to the patients that, okay, while I understand and I sympathize for your loss, do you think that the healthiest way to cope was with substance abuse? And how can we move forward with this while ridding of the substances that we are abusing that have negatively impacted your life in another way? So I believe that was the main goal of this therapy technique, was basically to have clients understand that every decision they make has a consequence and an impact in their life that they are responsible for. Dr. Glasser went on to say, Dr. Glasser was the original creator, inventor of reality therapy, and he went on to basically explain that no one can make you feel a certain way, and no one can make you make any decisions that you would not make on your own. So nobody has the capability of making you feel sad or upset or frustrated if you don't let them. Same as if they make you happy. You allow them to make you happy by the situations and the actions that occur in your life through them. So I think this was a really good way for getting people to understand that every situation that they are in, the choices or behaviors that they do after this, they affect themselves in their own lives through these behaviors that they use. So a little bit about Dr. Glasser. He is an American psychologist who practiced psychology from 1956 to 1986. So he practiced psychology for about 30 years, though he did not introduce reality therapy until 1965, so about 10 years into his practice. He began using this therapy in mental hospitals, jails, and prisons. And I think this would probably be the best audience to use this for, as it's kind of a harsh technique. It's kind of a tough love situation. And I think that's why this resonates so well with me, is that was the way I was raised and brought up, was a tough love situation and living ship. My parents basically taught me anything that I did, it would have a consequence or any sort of reaction with it. So I needed to be very careful with what I did and how I reacted to things and people, as it could come back later to haunt me, so to speak. I learned to be very careful with things, and I really like this therapy because maybe I can instill that within other people who have already lost themselves a little bit or gotten onto the wrong track. I think this would be a really good way to pull them forward and pull them through. So reality therapy is commonly known as the 3 R's, and these 3 R's are realism, responsibility, and right and wrong. So for realism, it goes on to explain that this is a solution-focused approach to the issue that requires a commitment from the client. So again, in terms of substance abuse, if a client comes to you saying that they've been abusing drugs, they're really looking for a way out, this would probably be a really good approach for them, the realism approach, because they have to commit to this change. Again, we can't make that decision for them. They have to do that themselves. They have to commit to wanting a better life for themselves, a cleaner living situation. And this would be a really good way to move them forward with that. Just explaining to them, okay, well, this is how this has impacted you, so how do you want to change this differently? And obviously drugs would be the component that we would need to rid of. as it brings forth negative consequences. This also means willingness to adapt and change, which could be a little bit of a trip up in the therapy. I think this would take some time, changing a whole lifestyle that you've learned around for whether it be a month or 10 years or however long it's been that the patient or client has been abusing these drugs. It's already taken a toll on them. That's why they're coming to you and they're seeking help, which is fantastic. That's why we need to work really hard to get them back away from that. So responsibility in reality therapy states that we are responsible for all decisions we make in life. Whether they're large or small decisions, we are solely responsible for how they play out and what happens within them. We are consciously aware of what we are doing, whether we know in the end it's going to be the right decision or not. We consciously make that decision. So we can't, this can kind of be used as a scapegoat for clients. Well, this happened to me, so this is why I did it. Unfortunately, yes, I understand that this is what happened, but let's find a more reasonable approach to moving forward from that situation. Right and wrong symbolizes someone's set of morals, values, and principles. This is one where I think things could get a little tricky, as well as general natural human nature. We all like to think that we're right all the time, and this may not always be the case. We're not always 100% right every day, every situation. So I think this is going to be a little hard because, we may not all have the same set of morals or values as the next person, and that could be a little bit of a trip up. Admitting that you're wrong, you're understanding, and you're willing to change and commit to a change while being kind and courteous to other sets of morals and values could be a little sticky. I really liked this therapy technique. It's personally really unique to me. I think that you would have to make sure that your audience is ready for this type of technique. Again, it's kind of a tough love, hard to hear, hard to handle therapy approach. So I don't think that personally, I'm not sure that it would be suitable, obviously, for pediatrics or any sort of children's therapy. I don't think it would be suitable for, which is primarily why when it was originated, it was used in prisons and jails. And in that time frame, things were vastly different from how they are now in society. I still don't think that it would be a great initial approach to mental health clients or mental health patients. If they are already in a fragile mental state, coming out and telling them this is why this happened to you and you could be at fault for it probably isn't going to be the best approach for that. So I really think that the best client base would be for those with substance abuse or issues, even potentially familial issues. Depending on the situation, it would be best to feel it out, understand your patient, your client, create that trusting relationship with them, and really understand the situation to best gauge if this would be suitable or not. I am looking forward to potentially using this in my field of practice. I think that it would be very effective. There have been research studies done with inmates in prisons and jails, and it was really effective for them. Most reacted really well. The control group, it really helped the variable. I didn't get to learn a whole lot about Dr. Glasser. Anything that I looked up on him was vague documentaries about other people's feelings of his approaches. There wasn't a whole lot on him, so I would really like to research him a little bit more. He did write a few books regarding this, and I'm very interested in looking into those and reading those and maybe gaining a little bit more knowledge and being able to best help my clients with as much knowledge as I can possibly get behind this technique. I just really think that it's a really unique approach. I think it's effective, and it would be great for certain clientele bases, and I hope to do a little bit more research in my spare time and learn a little bit more about this technique so I can best use it later in the practice. Thank you.